Raylene here. Hopefully I'm live in the right group. Let me just check on my computer. Sometimes I end up in the wrong group because I have a number of groups going on. I see Lindsay here, so that's a good sign I'm in the right group. Great to see you, Lindsay. Thanks for joining me today. So Lindsay is saying you are. That's really, really good, Lindsay, because I could do anything. I'm up since 20 to 4 this morning. I definitely need a nap a little bit later. Anyway, wonderful to have you here, Lindsay. And I'm just going to give it a few minutes to see if a few more people will join. Manja has just joined. Brilliant. I'm on my phone because my laptop, for some reason, when I do lives on my laptop, it requires much more internet, but my phone doesn't. So I'm doing it live here in my phone. Claire is here. Hi, Claire. Great to see you. I'm just giving it a few minutes until a few people join. Hi, Geeta. And if you're here, please do just drop a message and say hi, that you're here. It's Friday here in the south of France, but you would actually be forgiven for thinking it wasn't the south of France because it's really dull here today and it's really cold. Morning, Claire, how are you? So not the brightest day ever. So actually, I've been really looking forward to this live because I'm going to tell you a story, and I had forgotten this story until I got a message from an image consultant during the week saying about this really difficult client that she got. And I was reassuring her, you know, if you've been in business for any period of time at all, hi Mutricia, how are you? You'll probably get, a difficult client. So it got me to thinking about, the difficult clients that I had over the years and how I got into that situation of getting difficult clients, and how they caused me so much grief and, at points, to the point where you kind of question yourself and question, hi Katie, great to see you here, question everything about your business and whether you really should be in the business at all. So this morning I'm going to be talking about how to handle difficult clients, but also how to avoid getting difficult clients in the first place, because I will tell you a story about how I ended up with my most difficult client ever, honestly, and I was in business quite a while, so it shouldn't really have happened, but it did. So I'm going to tell you a story about that because I just think stories are so powerful, and I would love to hear your difficult stories. So pop your comments, pop your stories into the message box down here because I can actually see them. So I have a few people watching now, so and you can actually watch this afterwards as well. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about my backstory. So basically, I worked in the food industry. I worked in the food industry for about 10 years before I decided to become an image consultant. So I was kind of in a multinational company, kind of in a corporate role, a very practical role. I worked down on the production floor, but an image consultant came into the company. She was brought in by HR. I think it was like either 2003 or 2004. And she had the Colour Me Beautiful system, and she did a demonstration of colour analysis, and I absolutely loved it. And it was like after that, I just kept coming across, image consultants and colour analysis. My husband, went to an exhibition, and right next door to him was an image consultant who worked in Singapore, because that time I lived in Singapore. And anyways, I decided I was going to leave my corporate career and I was going to become an image consultant. And I was very gung-ho, and at that point, I had no kids. My husband had started his business, a few years earlier, and he had kind of had good success with it. So I thought it was a matter of just being passionate and I could start my career and everything would be great. So I wasn't completely clueless. Maybe I was completely clueless. I'm not sure. But anyways, I decided that a good thing to do would be to bring a part of what I was currently doing in my food manufacturing role into, hi Helen, great to see you, into my new career. So I decided that my company was going to be a nutrition and image consulting company, even though really I knew nothing about nutrition. I was a food engineer, I was a food scientist, but somewhere in my mind I thought there was a connection between what I was doing and nutrition. I mean, I knew the science, but I didn't really know how to help people with nutrition. So I went back anyway and I got a higher diploma in nutrition, and I trained as a color consultant with Bernice Kintner in the US, and I trained with the image maker on the style side. So and I trained while I was still working, which allowed me to afford all these expensive classes that I took. Hi Marcella, great to see you, good morning. And so anyways, I started my business. I took out a big shiny office on Orchard Road, which is the most expensive the most expensive road in Singapore, and I started my business. Now, while I was qualified to the hilt in technical skills, I had no practical experience, and on top of that, I had no business experience, because in my experience, very few business consultants are actually trained around business skills, unless, you know, they bring marketing skills with them or sales skills with them, but very few are actually trained around business. So I was your typical highly educated image consultant with no business skills. So I started, like many image consultants, with the idea that, you know, I would do everything. So I would do nutritional services, I would do image services, basically corporate work, anything that would come my way. So the reason I'm telling you this story is because this was one of the big reasons that I ended up with very difficult clients, because I was trying to appeal to everyone, but really didn't have expert advice in any particular area, because I was just generally trained. So I knew color really well, and because I loved it, I was good at that. But in terms of corporations or men's style and women's style, and just knowing all that to a deep level takes years and years and years, and working with a specific type of client. So I was trying to appeal to everyone and everything that moved, basically, in an effort to get clients. So initially, you know, things were really slow. It took me ages to get a few clients, and eventually, you know, I talked at different events, I held events in-house, and eventually I got some clients. But when my first son was born, I think this is when I encountered my most difficult client ever. My first son was born, and I had put on a lot of weight during the pregnancy, and I kind of put my business on hold for a while because I wasn't feeling that great. And anyways, when I got back into kind of promoting my business again, I got contacted by the helper of this guy. Would I come and you know, do a wardrobe audit for him and help him with his style? Now, number one, I didn't know a lot about men's style and wardrobe, and I knew the basics. You know, I had basic training, and he definitely wasn't my ideal client. I don't even like working with men. Eventually, I stopped working with men, probably after this incident, actually. But I didn't particularly like working with men. I found it difficult, and I found that their requirements were very different from women's requirements. And yeah, they weren't easy to work with. I mean, they have a specific set of needs, like anybody's ideal client. So anyway, so that should have been the first indicator, you know, that this mightn't work out. The fact that I didn't know how I could help him really. So then the helper arranged that I come down to this gentleman's hotel, and that I would have a consultation with him and audit his wardrobe. So I ended up setting up an appointment to come down to the Four Seasons Hotel in Singapore. So anyways, I was delighted, you know, it was work, and it seemed like lucrative work at the time. So at the time I didn't really think about that it was a safety issue, but like in hindsight, it absolutely was a safety issue. And if you do, you know, call out to people's houses, just be really, really careful that you don't get yourself into a compromising situation. Now, luckily I didn't, but looking back, I realized, God, I could have gotten myself into an awful situation. You know, with the Me Too movement and all that. But anyways, I didn't end up getting myself into that kind of situation, which was good. But when I got there, this guy, the first thing he told me, yeah, great point, re safety. I think if you're visiting people's houses or going to people's homes or meeting people in hotels, be very, very careful, because you could get yourself into a compromising situation very, very quickly. When this guy, anyway, this guy had several helpers, and when I got there, the Indian man helper introduced me to the man that I was going to be doing the consultation for. And within a few minutes of the conversation, I kind of realized, oh my God, this is going to be really difficult. This client is going to be really difficult. One of the hints was that he said he had previously worked with an image consultant and that it hadn't worked out. Now, that should have been a red flag. If somebody tells you that they have worked with an image consultant before and it hasn't worked out, then it's a clear indication that, you know, there may be a reason for this. Like, why didn't it work out previously? And funnily enough, like while I'm talking about my most difficult client ever, there was other clients along the way, and that was another red flag. They came and they said they had their colours done twice before and they still weren't happy with their colours. Or they came and, you know, they had their style done before and they weren't happy with their style. So those are clear red flags to me that, you know, this client is looking for something specific and maybe I can't provide that. What specifically are they looking for? And you need to ask questions around that. You know, why? Discover before you take them on as a client why it didn't work out previously and why the experience will be different with you. Now, when you're starting out, or if you're in business for a while and you're not getting as many clients as you like, the temptation is just to take the client on. But the problem with that is it can cause a lot of damage down the line. So just be really, really careful about that, you know, because especially in this day and age. Back then when I had that difficult client, there wasn't a lot of social media. Now there's a lot of social media out there. So you have to be really, really careful that you don't end up, you know, having your name spread all over social media for the wrong reasons. Anybody can pop on Facebook, on Instagram, on any of the social media platforms and put a negative review on there for everyone to see, and that can't be removed. So you have to be really, really careful in terms of taking on clients that are not ideal clients. So within about 2 or 3 minutes of the conversation, I kind of knew that there was some red flags going on here. So then he started questioning me about my business. So he said, well, what else do you do? So when I told him, you know, I can look at you, I can do a quick color consult, I can establish your best colors, we can have a look at your wardrobe, and you know, I can make some suggestions from there. And at the time, he was quite overweight, but he told me that he had lost weight and he wanted to tailor some of the clothes in his wardrobe. But he wasn't really anxious. It seemed like he wasn't really anxious to start on that. He was more focused on questioning me about, you know, the nutrition part of my business. And then he kept asking questions, and then because I was carrying a little bit of weight after the baby, and he said, but it's not, the nutrition part isn't really working for you, is it? And he was questioning, you know, another part of my service, and basically he was kind of talking to undermine my confidence. So I was just sitting there, and I was just, at that point, I should have known. If somebody is questioning your competence, or you're trying to defend yourself, or you know, you're starting to feel, you know, oh, this is a bit iffy, then that is another red flag that this is maybe you're not going to be able to help this person. So, you know, I think looking back now, if it was now, I would have just said to him, look, I don't think I can help you. You know, this is not going to work out. I think we'll both cut our losses and we'll finish the consultation here. Thank you very much, and go. But I didn't. I stayed on. And the consultation at that point kind of went from bad to worse. He just kept questioning me, and then I went to his wardrobe, and a lot of his clothes, like, you couldn't alter them. You know, they were, number one, they had been made specifically for his body shape in the first place. So they were made by a tailor, maybe in India, and, you know, taking in the wasting them, and it wasn't my forte anyway. You know, I couldn't advise on tailoring clothes. I could advise him on a good tailor, but like, I wasn't able to say whether the pants would look okay or not after tailoring. So you can see it went from kind of bad to worse. So anyway, I probably stayed on for the hour or the hour and a half. I can't remember how long it was. But when it came to leaving, he actually refused to pay. He refused to pay me for coming down. So at that point now, I got really indignant, and I said, well, I'm not leaving here until you pay me. I want to be paid. You know, I took a taxi down here. I spent the hour with you. We had discussed up front what you wanted. And I think he ended up paying me half of what the consultation cost was. So you can see, you can get yourself into a really, really horrendous situation very, very quickly if you take on clients that you can't really help. Now, it was due to my inexperience, you know, my inexperience around vetting the client correctly, and my desire to just take on anybody just to make, you know, ends meet, basically. So I think that knowing who your ideal client is and who you can help is really, really key. You need to know that up front. And if you don't know that, you can get yourself into a situation where this could happen. Now, I had been in business a number of years when this happened. You know, it wasn't as if, you know, I wasn't in business for a number of years. I was in business a number of years. And I had previous difficult clients as well, one or two. One was a lady, just an American lady, but she basically had done her dessert, or she, sorry, I'm reading Marcella's comment here. She says the strawberry of the dessert. Yes, the strawberry of the dessert was that he didn't pay me, or you didn't want to pay me. I had an American lady, and she had done her colours several times before, And I kind of confirmed what the previous image consultant has said, but she still wasn't happy. At that time, I didn't take the payment up front, and she refused to pay me. She refused to pay me at the end after spending like 2 hours in a consultation with her, giving her the best information to the best of my ability. And that time I knew what I was doing, you know, at that stage. So now I insist on payment up front. I don't do services anymore unless somebody has paid me already. It's a commitment, and you will weed out a lot of people who just aren't, you know, ready to make the commitment or unwilling to pay for your service. So now I always take payment up front for any of my online courses, for even my online color analysis, for in-house color analysis. I take the payment up front. You upfront only, Helen is saying, because you avoid that, you know, situation of, you know, having to ask for the money, and, you know, you just avoid that horrible situation. And then on top of that, do you really want a lot of people are uncomfortable around money. Maybe you're even uncomfortable around money. And ending the consultation around money, I never found very nice. It's much easier, you know, to end the consultation around, you know, have a great time, enjoy your colors. You don't have to do the whole faffing thing about money when it's taken up front. So Lindsay is saying, I only take a 10% deposit currently. So this is something she'll definitely take on board and change. Yeah, I would say taking a deposit is great, you know, but why not take it up front? You know, especially you have like blocked off this time. I find that people who have paid the money up front are much more likely to commit. They're a much more reliable type client, and you're not going to have problems down the line, you know, if they decide that something is not up to scratch. And it will weed out a lot of those difficult clients up front. So I think those are some key things to take into consideration. I haven't heard anybody else. Who else has had a difficult client on here? Has anybody else had a difficult client, or am I the only one that has ever had a difficult client? So the lady that I was talking to during the week, she said that she had a lady who came along and she had done her colours previously, but she wasn't happy with her colours. Are you starting to see a theme there? So she had actually come along and she had had her colours done with somebody else previously before she came to this lady, and she wasn't happy with her colours, and she wasn't happy with her styles, and she wanted a refund. So this particular lady gave her back her money, but I mean, I would be very, very reluctant to give back money, and I think that could have been completely avoided altogether. Just having the conversation up front, you know, why my sister hated, Helen said, my sister hated every moment. Hated every moment of the colour analysis, is it? Oh, well, that takes us on to another completely different point, Helen. But I find like family, you know, can be really, really difficult people to have as clients. They're really funny. Sometimes they don't necessarily see you as a service provider. So providing services for family can be really difficult. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was taking on very difficult clients is how it can knock your confidence. It can completely knock your confidence and destroy, especially when you're starting out, destroy your self-esteem. So I strongly encourage you to try and vet out these, you know, difficult clients up front. You know, that guy that I had, he nearly destroyed me. You know, I felt so bad for ages afterwards. And I kind of questioned everything about what I was doing. And it just took me ages to find my stride again. So when you are starting out, you don't really want to get yourself in those, you never want to get yourself into that kind of situation, but especially not when you're starting out. Mutricia said, not yet, but it would be difficult to make people understand that they need to enhance their image. Well, I think, Mutricia, they're not the client for you if they don't see the value in what you're doing. Full stop. They're not your client. Your clients will see the value in what you provide. But oftentimes people don't see the value in what we provide because we don't see it ourselves, because we're trying to provide everything to everyone. So Helen said, yes, but was draping my sister-in-law, paid and loved it. Yeah. So sometimes you will. Yeah, I have done all my done colours for all my sister-in-laws. The ones that paid appreciate it more. So that's another thing that I say, you know, don't, even if you're starting out, you know, do a few free of charge. But even if you just charge a nominal fee, I would suggest that you charge something, because people don't appreciate things for free. They really don't. So don't, you know, spend a long time giving services for free. It doesn't necessarily work, and again, it can turn against you. Helen says, I prefer online now, so much easier. Correct. I love online as well. That's why I moved to online, and that's why I train consultants to do online colour analysis, just like you, Helen. My sister continues to wear awful colours. But I know what to say about that one, Helen. Mutricia said, okay, got it. Marcella said, we need a big nose to smell them coming. Yes, Marcella, and no, I think you know, this lady that I was talking to during the week, she knew that this lady was going to be difficult, but sometimes in our desperation, we take on that client anyway. And I think we have to be really careful not to do that, you know, to be much more discerning. But we need to be clear who our ideal client is. So if you haven't done ideal client work, I strongly recommend that you do that. Now, I am actually I am starting a free ideal client challenge on the, let me make sure I have the dates correct, on the 24th of February. So I'm doing a free ideal client challenge. It's a 5-day challenge in a group in Facebook between the 24th of Feb and a week from the 24th of Feb. So I will actually put a little link on top or underneath this video, whichever I can do, probably on top of this video, so that you can join that and make sure that you are very, very clear on who your ideal client is. Until I figured out who my ideal client is, I was just all over the place. And once I started niching down and identifying who my ideal client was, people who I could truly help, people who were a natural fit for me, then my business took off. So that's what I show you how to do in the Ideal Client Challenge. So Mutricia said, free service means not useful. The perception is it's not useful. Yeah. And people perceive that if you're giving them something for free, you don't value it yourself. So they also don't value it. So I would be really, really careful about, you know, giving things away for free, for sure. Helen Bratton said, a summer wearing bright pink and hot turquoise are awful on her, and her red coat turns my stomach. Okay, well, we also have to let people be, Helen. You know, if she's happy wearing that and she feels good wearing that, you have to let her. Because that's what I found, you know, and even when we're doing colours for people or style for people, if they absolutely love something that you don't necessarily recommend, show them the best way to wear it, you know, rather than stuffing your point of view down their throat, because oftentimes they don't appreciate it anyway, and you're kind of killing yourself doing this and they don't appreciate it. So Helen said, count me in for the free Ideal Client Challenge. Absolutely, Helen, I'd love to have you. Yeah, we have to let it go. And that's another point, Helen, you actually reminded me that if you do have, you know, a really difficult client, there is a point when you have to let it go. You have to move on from it. And I was helping that lady do that this week. I was telling her, you know, it's never about you. Usually it's about them. And oftentimes, Lindsay said she's going to join as well. Yes, I'd love to have you, Lindsay. It'd be brilliant. Yeah, I think we have to move on. If you are putting yourself out there, if you are dealing with the public, you're going to have a difficult client from time to time. You're going to actually have to handle being asked for a refund at some point. So these are all things you're going to have to learn how to handle as a businesswoman. But there are things we can do to prevent it happening in the first place. And I feel strongly that if you know who is a good fit for you, then you prevent. I rarely get a difficult client these days. I really rarely do, because I evaluate up front. Can I really help this person? And if I can't help this person, forget it. I don't take the client on. There's no point. And then, of course, once you know your ideal client as well, your marketing is much clearer. So you don't attract these clients that you can't help in the first place. I only now attract clients who I can help because my message is very, very clear. You know, I help image consultants and personal stylists who basically want more clients, who want to grow their business. So it's very clear. I don't attract, you know, Joe Blogs down the road. Now, I'm not sure here. Oh, my battery's running out. Yeah. So Clover said, I'm doing my case studies for free, but getting them to do complete ideal client questionnaire. Is that a quote? Yes, Clover. You know, the first few, yeah, you can ask them, you can do their colors for free, for instance, to learn, to experience what they're doing. But I would definitely, you know, learn as much about them as you can. Get testimonials from them if you can, because you can use these testimonials then, you know, to attract more like clients. On top of that as well, they might even do a video tutorial for you. They might allow you to take pictures before and after. So, you know, while you're not getting a monetary exchange, you tell them up front, this is what I need from you. I need a written testimonial. I need a video testimonial, which are extremely powerful. Or can you fill out this questionnaire for me? See what you can get as an exchange for, you know, what you've done. I still have my first 2 clients that I ever had, you know. There is a way when you find that perfect client for you, they will follow you to the ends of the earth. And anyone who's been working as an image consultant for any period of time will know that. Yeah, niching and experiences teaches you. But I think the problem with this, Marcella, is that people are just afraid to niche. They're afraid to niche because they feel that, you know, they'll be turning people away. I never advocate that you turn people away unless you perceive that there's going to be a problem. But niching down helps you attract the right people in the first place. It's much easier, obviously, to market to somebody if you know who you're marketing to. I mean, you'll know where to go, what to do, what to say to them. Marketing becomes so much easier. Whereas when I had my nutrition business and my image business and I was marketing to corporations and I get inquiry here and I get an inquiry there, and I was just spread so thin, and I was preparing new materials all the time because it was a new client all the time, and it was just crazy. So I would say that step 1 for anyone, and regardless of what program you join with me, whether it's the most basic program to my more advanced programs, I always get you to do ideal client work first. And then I get you to repeat it over and over and over again over time, because that's really, really important. So I didn't hear any, I can't believe it, but I don't think I heard any really bad client stories yet. Did I hear any bad client stories? Not yet. Oh, Sarah said, do you have problems with clients not liking the colours in the palette you recommend? This happened to me when I had my colours done years ago. Yes, I did, Sarah, for sure. There's loads of people who won't necessarily agree with what you recommend for them. There really is. So you have to listen to them. You have to listen to them. So like, for instance, if someone comes to me and I see that they're a winter person, you know, their colouring is a winter person, and, you know, but they love the summer colours. This happened to me a lot actually with my Japanese clients. You know, it was, lots of them were winters, but they wanted to be summers because their perception of the summer colours were that they were more feminine, they were softer, they were nicer colours. So they wanted, you know, to look more feminine, so they wanted to wear the summer colours. So I often just show them how to wear the winter colours in a softer way, you know, reduce the contrast, still using winter colours, but reduce the contrast. You know, there's a crossover between winter and summer. So I kind of just showed them how to wear the winter colours to give them the summer feel that they wanted. So you just basically learn to listen to them and to adapt what you're telling them so that there is some congruency between you. So this is very normal, Sarah. You will come across this all the time. It's very usual that someone will say, well, I just don't like the spring colours, you know. So maybe you have to give them the light palette instead and say, you know, here is the light palette, you know, this might work a little bit better with you. What do you think of this one? You know, it's not quite the spring colours, it's a little bit softer. And usually you can come to some kind of agreement on the palette that they're most likely to wear. Because the truth is, even if you give them a palette that they don't like, they won't use it anyway. So it's all about helping them, you know, take the next step closer to what your recommendation is. And yeah, you will. This will come more naturally as you get more experience. As long as you're kind of intuitive and you listen a little bit, you'll be able to do this. Okay, anybody, any other questions in here? I'm just scrolling down to see. Oh, what about people who haggle on prices? I'm wanting to charge $99 for online colour as soon as possible. Not great with hagglers. I would just say, well, this is the price, I'm sorry. Great if you have an offer for a day or something and you want to offer it at a lower price, but I would just say no. And generally speaking, they're not the right kind of client if they're haggling over that small amount of money, because what you're actually providing for them is life-changing, and it's about you believing on what you're providing them as well. You know, that you're providing something of great value, and when you know you're providing something of great value, you're much... Hi Leslie, thanks for joining. We've been going for a while now, Leslie, and I probably won't be on too much longer, but I will put it in here so you can watch it again. So we've had some great questions and some great participation. Marcella, thanks. Marcella, thanks for joining. It's wonderful to have you here. Hey, lovely, just joining now. Yeah, hi, Leslie. It's all in here, Leslie, so you'll be able to watch it again on replay. And I will be putting a link for my Ideal Client Challenge, which is completely free of charge, at the top of this video as soon as I have it live. I've really enjoyed this session. I'd love for you to suggest topics in the group that you'd like me to talk about. I'm quite happy to come in here and talk. I'll also be getting guest experts in here to chat about different things. My next one is a portrait photographer. So she'll be helping you a little bit, you know, with photos for your content for your social media, as well as getting portrait pictures taken. So Terry is her name, and I knew her from Singapore. She didn't take my last set of portrait pictures, she took the ones before, and I still love them, I still adore them. Terry is great, so I'm going to have her in here in the group on, we agreed, oh, the 14th of Feb. So she's coming in on the 14th of Feb. So if there's anything in particular that you want me to talk about, just pop it in the group and we can have a bit of a vote. And I'm quite happy. I have allocated 12 noon CET time every Friday to talk about different things. Marcella said, yes, this time is better for me, because Marcella is in Argentina. Yeah, sometimes she struggles with my earlier classes. Okay, so that's all from me. I'm kind of trying to see what time it is. It's 12:40. This is good. Matricia is saying she's looking forward to attend the session. Helen said my photographer thought your website and pictures were good. Yes, you know, I don't love my last set of pictures, Helen. I like the ones before better. But again, it comes down to your preparation, how prepared you are on the day, you know, how clear you are in your message. And I think all these things are really, really important before you ever go getting your pictures taken. Just this morning I had someone say that, you know, they can't do this before they get a set of portrait pictures taken. I would suggest do not spend a fortune until you're very, very clear on what your message is and who your ideal client is. And then you can, you know, build your portrait pictures around that ideal client. Otherwise, it's a bit hit and miss. But anyways, that's all I have for this morning. I'm going to finish now. I'm going to put this live in the group, and I'm going to put the link to the Ideal Client Challenge in there so you can actually join. But I probably won't open the group until like the day before, but you can join and get your place in there from the link. So thanks a million for everyone who joined and for all the brilliant questions, and it's just great to have you all here. Thank you very much, and I will chat to you all soon. Bye.